So we've come a long way in these few short modules. If you started with a blank page, you probably by now have a well-crafted document. And if you started with a resume already, hopefully you've made some tweaks to it along the way to get that professional touch to it. What we're going to do in this module is we're going to take a look at some job postings and then take a look side by side with some resumes and see how that resume is tailored towards that job posting. This will help us see what kind of effort we need to put forth each time we send out our resume to make sure we're meeting exactly what the employer is looking for. Let's take a look at this resume for a nursing position. The key pieces of a resume we have discussed to this point are present in this document. We have a strong, consistent format and a clean look with strong verbs behind the bullet points. Medi has included the most relevant information toward the top of the page and grouped everything else in areas we would expect to find it. If we are interested in her additional clinical experience, we can read more about the different settings. If we want to read more about her leadership experience, we can quickly navigate to that portion of her document. Similarly, if those things aren't of interest to a potential employer, they can skim over the entire section and spend more of their time focusing on the things they are looking for. So, what might they be looking for? Let's take a look at this job posting to find out. The beginning of the posting includes many task-oriented concepts. We see assessing and treating patients, and evaluation and triage experience. These are all things we might expect to find in the clinical experience section of the resume, which we do. Now let's read a little further and identify some soft skills and transferable skills. You will remember, soft skills are things like communication or people skills. They are non-technical skills that enable you to interact with others. Transferable skills are skills that you might develop in one setting that can be easily transferred to another setting. Reading the rest of the job posting, we can identify those skills as excellent time management, organizational skills, working as part of an interdisciplinary team, leadership, advocacy, communication, and critical thinking. So now that we've looked at the job posting and identified what it is they are seeking in their ideal candidate, let's see if Medi's resume matches those skills. For Medi's time management, we could consider the overall resume. Medi appears to have kept very busy with a lot of related work experience along with all of the clinical rotations and the leadership while being a student. We could also consider her time management and organizational skills needed to plan the large events with the Multicultural Nursing Student Association. We see a direct mention of her work on an interdisciplinary team when she references her collaboration in the cardiac unit. Her leadership shows strong in the entire bottom section of the resume. To get an idea of her advocacy, we see direct mention of her advocating for her patients' needs, again, in the cardiac unit. The communication skills come through in a number of areas. Twice in her surgical vascular unit, both directly in the second bullet and indirectly in the third bullet. Also, her role with Blue Cross Blue Shield, when she educated non-compliant members of preventative health screenings. Finally, her critical thinking is displayed in her work with the cardiac unit when triaging and prioritizing patients' needs. We can infer that if Medi could prioritize the patient's needs, she was likely using some sort of critical thinking. So this is a good example of a resume that is hitting all of the requirements, including the soft skills and transferable skills, and has a good chance of being selected for the next step of the process by whoever is reviewing it. Let's check out another example, this time for a human resources specialist position. First, let's scan the resume. Hire Mia has a well-organized resume here with just a few sections, but clear structure and a clean look to it. We see strong verbs and numbers where appropriate. If we dig into the posting as we did the previous sample, we can identify some transferable skills and key requirements for the position. Let's pay special attention to the leadership, strategy, screening, applicant tracking system or ATS, interviewing, onboarding and benefits, promoting the best place to work reputation, communication and interpersonal skills, and finally technology. This is a very full job description. Let's break this down and see if we can find most of these elements somewhere on Hire Mia's resume. First, we can quickly see reference to Hire Mia's leadership in the section dedicated to leadership at the bottom. We find a reference to the strategic vision from the internship with Fetch Logistics, where Hire Mia learned effective recruitment techniques through a strategic approach including research. We learn about Hire Mia's screening experience when we see that as a career peer advisor, the candidate reviewed over 600 student resumes and screened resumes that could benefit from further assistance. We also know HireMia worked with ATS systems from the second bullet in the Fetch Logistics Experience section, where the candidate managed the ATS. We can see where HireMia demonstrated their interviewing experience, again, from the internship when they conducted phone interviews and participated in the in-person interviews. In regards to the onboarding and work with benefits, we can see that work from the internship as well in the final bullet. We see this idea of promoting a company's reputation as the best place to work being shown from the work with Wegmans in emphasizing employee appreciation through the Human Resources Department. HireMia also has a clear demonstration of communication and interpersonal skills from the second bullet of the work with Career Services, where they provided advice to students and presented workshops. Finally, the idea of working with technology and social media are shown in the computer skills section. Here you have seen two sample resumes, both of which had a strong match to the job description for which they are being submitted. Both of these candidates most likely have a really good chance of moving on to the next round of the process, whether that's a phone interview or a screening interview or something else. Hopefully this has shown you the tips and tricks of how to match your resume towards a job posting and how to comb through that job posting to find the skills that you need to highlight. In the remaining two modules of this course, we are going to first hear from an employer giving you real-life advice of how he typically approaches a stack of resumes and how he goes through and makes some decisions on those documents. So we'll be able to hear some of the information that we've been talking about in real-life situations. After that, we're going to have a question and answer module where we'll be talking about some of the most commonly asked questions and answers about resumes.